started. We have a lot going on tonight. My name is Schmidt. Roger gave me a job back in 1982. My life's been different ever since. And I owe this man an awful lot. So I'll say a little bit of that later. On behalf of the Grove family, they would like to welcome you all here. And for this, things happen for a reason in life. And judging by all the hugs from all the players and the Westchester group and everything, we're all here to celebrate a very special man, husband, father, coach, friend, teammate, roommate, and mentor to many. And I want to keep the list of introductions to a minimum, but I do think it's important that we introduce a couple of very important people. Most important person here is a very special person. Up until about, I would say, a month ago, I thought Roger Grove was probably the toughest guy I ever met. I was wrong. I think he's the second toughest guy I ever met. The toughest person I ever met is this young lady over here to my right, Peggy Grove. Roger's brothers and two sisters are also here. We want to make sure they're aware. We introduce them. That's Ken Grove, Judy Maxwell, and Nadine Miller. Please give them a round of applause, please. Brian Kennedy and I are kind of tag teaming this thing, so we have a couple responsibilities. First and foremost is this, and judging by the turnout, we all know what kind of guy he is. And a lot of people have a lot of words, a couple different phrases to describe Roger Grove. But the one thing everybody knows is the common denominator is his love for young people and how he just gravitated to them and how they gravitated to him and how much so many of us owe him. And in lieu of flowers, you saw in the obituary that it was the Grove family decision that we were going to start a Roger Grove Memorial Scholarship Fund. Now let me explain it to you a little bit, okay? Whatever we raise here tonight, we've already had very generous donations from before this night started. Tonight there's been a $1,000 donation from the Chamonix Hen Club, just to add to it. And but as you see on your table here is an envelope, and if you want to take it home with you, all you need to do is just fold it, put your information on it, tuck it in. The reason why we did this is because Peg demanded that she knew who was sending in the donations because she wants to send them a letter of thanks. And that was something in our meeting when we got this night organized that she was adamant about. So if you know someone that's not here, if you're not sure exactly what your situation or what you might do, just put a couple of these in your pocket and have people go to it. It's going to be a committee that is going to be together on this, headed by Peggy, Michael, and David, and a couple other people, and we're going to give 2 scholarships, one to a Chamonix student athlete, and one to obviously a Norristown student athlete. So we think it's a great idea. Roger spent so much time, good football coaches, high school, they don't pay much and all that. We'll hear those stories, I'm sure. But, to be good, Roger had great guys working with him. You'll hear from some of those guys later. You'll hear from some friends from Westchester. And you'll finish up with some ex-coaches and ex-students that he touched their lives. So I get the great pleasure to introduce 2 young men who throughout their lives, their dad was awful proud of them. And I got to tell you firsthand, I know he was proud of the way they both handled their business the last couple of months. These 2 young men were amazing. And they have a very special guest with them tonight that has a few things to say. So I'm going to turn this over to David and Michael Grove.
Don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following the path God has laid for me. I took his hand when I heard his call. I turned my back and left the road. I could not stay another day. To walk to work, to work ahead. I slept or done, I stayed that way. I found the peace at the close of the day. With my parting, I left the Lord and fill it with remembered joys. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss, and yes, these things I too will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sentiment of tomorrow. My life's been full, I figured much, but sometimes the times of loved one's touch. Perhaps my time seems all too sweet. Don't let them go, knowledge can be good. Lift up your heart and share with me. God wanted me now, he set me free.
It's going to be a tough act to follow. But all of you know her that she loves the stage. She said she was in a play, so this wasn't going to be hard. Well, thank you all for coming. This is even a little bit overwhelming to me. I know we've had a great turnout. There's a lot of love and support and prayers in this room. And we appreciate it. My mom appreciates it. Our family appreciates it. So thank you. One thing before, please make sure you all sign the book. As Mark said, Mom wants to know everyone who's here. We want to give a donation. It means a lot to her to be able to say thank you back to you. So feel free to, you can get out and sign the book if you didn't get a chance. There's a lot of people here. There's going to be a lot of speakers in the next 3 hours. Feel free also to get up, get a drink, get some food, stretch, look at pictures if you get a chance to before they're spread out for you. Don't feel you need to just be confined to your seat. First, I'd like to thank Brian and Becky Kennedy, Mark and Mary Beth Schmidt, helping us put this together. You guys have been great. I know you're an extended family for us, but thank you very much. And without you, during this tough times, it helped. We all were able to do that together, so thank you. Thank you to Presidential Caterers for allowing us to share all this great night and celebration of our dad here at your venue. So we thank you as well. Roger Grove. Tonight we celebrate him. We're going to share stories, memories, have us laughing and have us crying. Over the last few weeks, we've read so many of these tributes you've had on Facebook and birthday cards. We got to share some in person from many of you at the hospital and at our house. Thank each and every one of you for that. At one point, my mom had a goal to have my dad reach his 70th birthday with some joy and have a big card shower, she called it. I don't know where she got it. She read it somewhere, or somebody told her about a card shower. We can look it up. But it's a thing. We got hundreds and hundreds of cards. Some of you dropped them off, some of you mailed them. Read a lot of positive things that we didn't even know that were great for us to hear. So thank you for that. Chris Grant, Brian and Becky, Steve Bono, his father, Phil Santangelo, thank you. You actually spent the night with us for my dad's birthday. And that was very special. We had a very, very good time. Pop and I even got to share a beer. That didn't happen that much, so that was special. And I say Pop. Each of us knew him in a different way. As Mark said, some of us knew him as a friend, some as a brother, as a husband. Some as Coach Grove, some as just Coach, some as Raj. And as we learned from his friends in high school, he was known as Beagle. It's a nickname they know a little bit more of that than we do, but that's we knew him as Dad. Over the last 8 to 12 months, for me, that transitioned to Pop. Let me get that for you, Pop. I hope you get that, Pop. What do you want to eat today, Pop? Let's go get a milkshake, Pop. I'm going to miss you, Pop.
and I do. Makes me proud. My mom, my brother, and I truly thank you for your support, your thoughts, your prayers. Some of you know my dad all his life. Some just a short time, the last week of his life. Ginger Scott, you mean the world to us. Thank you, we love you. To switch it up a little bit, the story with a little humor to it. The final morning, my dad was struggling the last couple of days. There's a nurse there. I'm right next to his bed. He hadn't been able to get his hair cut for a while. It's getting long. Now, you all know he had the tongue broken. It's been 30 years. But he got that mullet look that I used to have. And it got long in the back. So the girl, Kathy, said, maybe we should pull this back into a ponytail. He didn't say anything for 2 days. He said, no ponytail. He didn't want a ponytail. So the last, he stayed true to who he was. He was a man's man, as Dave Salvage said today, and a bunch of you have said, and thank you, Dave, for the cannolis. That was a hell of a treat for him in his final weeks. All he wanted was the cannolis. So that was special for us. Maybe you want to say something?
I just wanted to also extend a thanks. The outreach has been overwhelming. It has been for the last few weeks. The visitors, the cards. You know, just look at tonight. You know, you look at my dad, and he was a guy that was pretty private, kept to himself, and you would think he'd have a kind of a small circle of people. I mean, you look at this room, and the circle is enormous. I do want to thank my mom. You are the strongest one out of all of us. She's been through knee surgeries, broken necks, numerous broken bones, kidney transplants, MS, bypass surgeries, the loss of her own two brothers. She does it with grace and with strength. You're an inspiration to me, to my children. You're an inspiration and example to all of us. So another round of applause because you're
Before Tom comes up and we share a prayer, a lot of us in here have lost loved ones. I ask you all to please remember those as you go, your friends and family that you've lost. Recently, our brother Preston, a month ago today, lost his father, Preston Wade Sr. Please have him in thoughts and prayers of his family. 2 weeks ago today, my dear friend Nikki lost her mother. Gone through this a lot together, so please keep her in thoughts and prayers and her family. It means a lot to us. As we celebrate my dad, think of all the people that can look at this joyous night from where they are and enjoy that with all of us. Let's have a wonderful evening. Please laugh, please cry, please share your stories, and enjoy the night. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can we bow our heads, please? I just wanted to first is getting back to a lot of important people passed away this month. I just buried my mom yesterday, and I just looked so much forward. I didn't even know I could say a prayer tonight because I'm a little shook up. So I'm going to read this. I'm just going to read it, if you don't mind. Father, we are here tonight to celebrate Roger Grove. We thank you, Roger, for all those. We thank you for all those who contributed to putting this event together. We pray this celebration will lift up his family, as well as the many players, students, colleagues, and friends that are here tonight. We thank you, Lord, that we can be a part of this tribute to Rodney. Let us always remember how significant he was to each of us and how he did so much to change our lives, whether it was in guiding us and helping us in our decisions at work or in our community or perhaps at home. Now, those of you who knew Roger on the field will understand now when we say, and I want you to please join me, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. And now, Lord, I just thank you for this food that you provided for us, and the hands that prepared it. Just bless our time together, and let our words and actions be pleasing to you. And we'll thank you in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen.
Good evening. My name is Brian Kennedy. I was part of Coach Grove's staff for a few years, and we'd like to open it up now to anybody that would like to come up and say a couple of things or share a story. We would like to limit that to 2 or 3 minutes if we could, so that if we have a big contingent of people, we can get everybody in. So if you'd like to come up, please make your way up here and take the mic. Anybody? Preston Howard?
Excuse me, to the family, I'd like to offer my deepest condolences with the passing of Coach the World who was. Mrs. Grove, bear with me for a minute. Dave and Mike, where'd you do this? Here. All right. I don't know you guys that well, but I know you. Couldn't tell you what your favorite color was, what kind of music you listen to, but we haven't spent that much time together. But I had the opportunity and the pleasure to spend a lot of time with your father. So therefore, wholeheartedly, I can say that he's proud of you. Wholeheartedly, I can say that I know and believe that you two understand the values of honesty, loyalty, respect. I can say wholeheartedly that you gentlemen care for others and would do for others. You take the shirt off of your backs if you put somebody else in a better position. All these things I know about you because I knew your father. See, it was his job to teach you those things. It was his job and responsibility to impart them on you, his sons. Myself, I was a student, I was a friend, and I was a player. Good one, my But I follow that with the time that he took with me, the care and love that he gave me, the lessons that he taught me. So if he took that much care to give all that to a student, a friend and a player, I wish I had been one too. I'm going to miss you, Father. And I love him always. And again, sorry for the loss.
Good evening, everybody. My name is T. Ellis. My condolences to the Grove family, all the players and coaches that are still here, and his friends. I want to say one thing. Roger Grove was tough on the field, but he had a heart. Me and Coach Grove had our differences sometimes, but he pushed me. If he didn't push me, he'd go tell my dad, and that'd be another story. So, always was a two-pronged approach. But I do want to say that he was always a good fighter. He never gave up. And through it all, the things that he accomplished in his lifetime, you see around here, and you see the players here. Both me and my brothers and my cousin played for him. My one brother has since gone on to glory also. But I appreciate the fact that Mr. Grove, you gave him the time to allow him to coach, because as I'm doing now, I'm coaching, and it's a full-time job, and to prepare kids and keep them going straight and narrow, he really exemplified that. So I want to say thank you, and I appreciate that. And the two sons who were up here, your dad was a heck of a man. Coach Pierantozzi, Coach Griffiths, some of my other coaches that weren't here, but I just want to say to all you guys, perseverance, purpose, understanding, keep doing that. Keep fighting. Thank you.
First person that's going to come up here and say a few words to us all is Danny Hale. Danny Hale is, hold on, stay there. This guy's a special person also. Danny and Roger were roommates 4 years together at Westchester, best man at 11. But more importantly than that, they have a great bond. Danny Hale did at Westchester and at Bloomsburg, and Roger Grove did in Norristown. And, the fact that they were roommates together, maybe they rubbed off on each other, but this guy is a really special guy. And being a high school coach, I had players that I knew needed some guidance. They went to Bloomsburg, and they played for Danny Hale. Because I knew Danny would do the same thing that Roger did. He'd give them the time, give them the tough love, but he'd be there when they needed him. And that's this guy right here. This is Danny Hale.
I do have another name. My friends know that Screw Loose. I'm up here in that capacity tonight because in those 64 through 68, when I first came to Westchester in 1964, I saw Roger. He was a stud. Ed's been a tough board of that, but man, he looked the part. And I do want to jump ahead and say that Peg, you and him together, my gosh, you were the best. You were the models. Peg's a cheerleader, good looking. She never talked to me, but I've had a good 47 years. Anyway, it's not about me, it's about Roger, and I have a couple stories that I want to tell. I want to see another side of him for his grandkids to hear about and whatever, but I have 3 stories that will cover the years our Killinger Hall. We stayed in a dorm called Killinger Hall. Killinger Hall was shaped like a U, all right? And that's where we all came in there. So freshman year, we come into Killinger Hall, etc. My sophomore year, did have the name Screw Loose, so they bet me that I would not run naked between one corner of the dorm to the other corner of the dorm. So you have this U, so you had to go across the dorm. Now this is before streaking was in vogue, and stuff like this. So I got over there, took my clothes off in the corner, and I pulled my shirt up, and had the shirt over my head, so I had my Pharaoh look. And so I bolted across. I hear the hooper and the hollering up there at the little pirouette, come across, go to the other doors, they're locked. They locked the doors on. I run all the way back over to where the other side, they locked the doors on. I'm now panicking because I see a car with a bubble on the top, and there's only one way in, and that's through the middle doors. And I ran through there with people on both sides, right upstairs. All the doors you could hear slamming, the doors slamming shut. Took the money I threw it, and I was ticked off. And I hear all this laughing. Later you laugh about it and everything, but I've come to find out Roger was an instigator in that whole thing. My friend Roger and then Shank over there, two of them. And then my own roommate threw me under the bus on that. Probably because Roger in our freshman year, though, we were playing mumbling tag out back with the knife and throwing and see who could come the closest. He didn't tell me that we weren't allowed to hit the guy. So I think it was a payback for that he locked the door on me. Junior year, there's a big water tower in Westchester. So it's beyond the statute of limits. They can't get me now. They can't get us. But anyway, brand new water tower built. Now, between our study, we studied an awful lot. So we were studying and we were just tired. We wanted to do something. So we decided to climb the water tower. They left the door open. In the middle, you can climb up. So there's a whole group of us that we climb up the water tower. We come up through the middle, and then there's a ledge. Some people were afraid. Diz didn't. He didn't want heights, so he wouldn't. Diz stayed down. Frankie Coleman, he was a little afraid. He didn't want to go up the rest of the way. But you go up through the middle, and there's a porthole. You come out on top, and there's a big ring up there. And so we go up. There's 5-gallon buckets of paint. So we figured we'd throw the paint over, have a good time, and relax. Well, we come back down and realize you can't really see the paint. So somebody has a bright idea that we're going to go get a sheet and put our names on the sheet, pick it back up, and put the sheet up there. So we go to the dorm. So you can't be too drunk to do all that. Back up, we go, and we take this over, we throw this thing over, tie it off, we throw it over the side. It doesn't go far enough. So we form a human chain. I'm the anchor, I have my legs around Tony Giretti, who had his legs around Roger, or the other way around, and then Frankie Miller shimmied down to make sure it was in order. When we come back down, we're upset with Diz Denton, who's painted the bus tires purple or something like that. We're mad at him, thinking that we're going to get in trouble for painting the bus. Well, the next day, Killinger Hall, the state police are there. They're looking for who painted the water tower because it cost them a lot of money. So we blamed who in their right mind would put their names on the sheet. So we blamed it on the suits. We had the suits for the music majors, and we had the private adult So we blamed it on them. We were scrubbed our fingernails, and we just denied it, lied, right straight through. They never got us. We got away with that. Come senior year, we get the bright idea. Peggy, thanks for letting me go. Diane, thanks for letting me go. And Frankie Miller decided we're going to, at the last minute, to thumb it to Fort Lauderdale for spring break. So here we are, our seniors. We're grown up now. Seniors, last minute, man, I had poured anything. I had nothing. And so I don't remember taking a bag. Maybe I took a bathing suit and a toothbrush and the same with the other two. We had another friend drive us down, drop us off on 95 at a rest stop. We thumbed it, had our thing Fort Lauderdale. Truck driver picked us up, took us all the way down there. Anybody ever have pineapple wine? I never did either, never have since. Boy, it was good down there with Roger, like pineapple wine and bourbon, 10 high bourbon. Any of the cheap bourbon, that's what we drank. And we had one whale of a time. We found a place to sleep, we found a place, whatever. And then tumbled back. Roger and I taught Lansdowne Alden, and he was always the better teacher. He was a great teacher, coach. And one of my students picked us up. They took us all the way back. Well, anyway, that was our experience, a little bit different maybe than you knew him, but he had another side to it. Another time, the last thing I wanted to say is that I need to, I read scripture a lot, and every time I come to John 15:13, I think of Roger. The greatest love you can have for your friends is to give your life for them. And what Roger did for his brother, you can't say enough, Kenny. When I went there to the hospital to see him and you, that's Roger Rhodes. So with that, I'm going to pass off to another teammate, Ed Swetkowski. Sweat, come on down. Roger, 66, 67, Tangerine Bowl. He's a D-back. Always wanted to be a linebacker. He's been looked up.
And he did deserve the name of Screw Loose, that's for sure. How'd you like to follow him? Well, here goes. Roger Grove, what a wonderful life to celebrate. Where do you begin? Thank goodness, when David asked me to do this, he did give me a bit of a parameter. He said, look, Danny's talking about the Westchester years. Why don't you talk a little bit about Westchester and then take us into the early years of coaching. That's when Roger and I were the closest. So I'll go back and start with Westchester. I'm trying to recall the first time I met her was in the presence of Roger over 50 years ago. Stump Dirksen, Stump, stand up, wave, Stump. Rick Dirksen, stand up. Yes. Okay, wait, he's standing. Believe it or not, he's standing. Tom Lumpy Smith, stand up, Lumpy. Tom Lumpy Smith. And another teammate of mine from the White Marsh, Frank Cecil Mellor, who cannot be here tonight. Four of us headed to Westchester, and we wanted to make the Westchester freshman team. In those days, no one started varsity right away. You started freshman. And remember going for the physical. And you know, you can learn a lot about a guy at a physical. And we were there. There's some pretty tough customers. And Lumpy Smith came up to us and said, hey, I met a guy that kills steers. I'm like, what? He said, see that guy over there? He kills steers. I looked over, I saw Roger, and I said to Lumpy, I said, kiddingly, I said, with his hands? Lumpy goes, no, he shoots them, he butchers them, and he moves their carcasses around, and he chops wood all day. I said, well. I said, well, how do you know all this information? He said, well, I asked him, I said, you know, how'd you get built like that? You lift weights a lot. And Roger told a story about how much he worked, how hard he worked as a young man. I said, Lumpy, calm down, calm down. That guy can't be a freshman. Ricky happened to be standing next to us, and Ricky goes, you mean the guy with the big barrel chest? The guy with the guns? The guy with the Popeye forearms? Yeah, that's him. Ricky goes, oh no, that's my roommate. That's Roger Grove. He has to shave 2 times a day. We were like, whoa, do we really belong here? Roger was a man amongst a lot of boys. We were boys anyway. We're guys from PW. But it didn't take long to learn that Roger really was a man on the field. Our first game was against Army, our freshman team. Army in those days was still a Division I team. Typically, the varsity was contending for the title every year. And I'll tell you what, the most outstanding player on the field was Roger Grove. And it also didn't take us long to realize how good he was when we all moved up to the varsity. As a sophomore, he was our leading ground gainer. He was our leading scorer. He was all-league honorable mention. But as Danny said, you can't talk about Roger Grove at Westchester unless you talk about Miss Peggy Herr. Miss Peggy Herr was Westchester's cutest, nicest, friendliest cheerleader ever. And Roger had a crush on her. And when we heard that, we said, Roger, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance with Peggy Herr. And then when we found out that Peggy did grant him a date or two, we said, Raj, you outkicked the coverage on this one. We all know that's not true. They ended up being the greatest couple ever. And Peg was truly the strength behind Roger in all, if not all, many of his accomplishments. I remember that senior year, Roger said to me, he said, Swett, what do you know about Norristown High? I have an interview there. And I said, Roger, I'll tell you this, after playing them and coming from the area, they have a lot of tough kids. I said, they're tough kids, they play hard. Right now, they're in a rebuilding process, but they were always the power when we were around. And I said, there's one thing you have to know. Their fans are for real. They take their football seriously. That's exactly what Roger wanted. He always wanted to be a career coach. Roger shared with me that he had been given offers from some, let's say, higher level schools as far as football was concerned, but Roger saw something special in Westchester. I really think it was the fact that Westchester at that time was quite a hotbed for high school coaches, successful high school coaches. And I think that this is what Roger wanted. He wanted the challenge. He wanted that situation. A few years later, I followed him to Norristown, and I remember that I loved to scout with Roger. I think Roger knew every buffet in Montgomery County. And because of his background as a butcher, he knew every single meat cut. There was no golden corral for us, that's for sure. Another thing I remember about Roger in the early days was, and this was after the football season, Roger was always in the gym. Roger was quite an athlete, and he was really, really good at hoops. Norristown at the time was a real basketball school, as it still is, but in those days, basketball was number one. But Roger knew how to get that street cred. Roger was a good ball player, and he was there after school. 1-on-1, 4-on-4. Man, you didn't want to challenge Coach Grove to hoops. Pity the fool that did. Even Henry Williams, future All-American, future pro, wanted no parts of Roger when it came to horse, that's for sure. We all knew in Westchester, and I guess this kind of fit. As I said, Roger was a big burly guy, but boy, he was a dancer. He was a runner. He glided. He was smooth as far as being a running back was concerned. So I guess it was kind of applicable that Roger loved speed when it came to automobiles. He loved muscle cars. He loved Bonnevilles. He loved GTOs. He loved it. Always had one. But at one point in his early coaching career, this love for speed got a little out of hand. The school year was over. We were into the summer, and Montgomery County used to have a midsummer classic that was called the Montgomery County All-Star Game. Roger called me up and said, Swett, how about if we go to the game together? Now, I hadn't seen him in over a month, although we did keep in touch. And he said, I'll pick you up. I said, Raj, I don't have a car tonight. He said, that's okay, I'll pick you up. Well, that's the dumbest thing I ever said. Get this knock on the door, and I open it up, and I said, who the hell are you? What happened to you? Standing at the door, I know this might be hard to believe if you're a player of Roger in the later years or an Academy kid, but there he is standing there. He's got this helmet in his hand, and it wasn't a football helmet. It was I call it an Easy Rider type helmet. And he's standing here with these shoes. They're called Captain America shoes. They're red, white, blue with stars on them. He had, David, wasn't the first, that wasn't the first mullet he had. He had kind of like a semi-mullet going on back there. And I think he was even wearing bell-bottom jeans. And I'm like, what the hell happened to you? You know? Well, anyway, Then I look over his shoulder, and here's the really dumb part. Sitting there is a motorcycle. According to Roger, it was a Harley High or a Suzuki something or other, but he guaranteed me it was one of the fastest motorcycles they make. Well, there we went, down DeKalb Pike, two 215-pounders, one hanging off a deer light, and the other one acting like Evel Knievel. It was scary. Thank God it was just the phase that he went through. But getting a little more seriously, I'd like to share an excerpt with you. Dennis Way wrote a couple of beautiful articles about Roger, and I had to respond to one, and this is what I sent to the Times-Star. In the late 60s, Roger first came to town as a recent graduate of Westchester. He was born and raised in the central region of the state. He probably knew much more about the harvest than he did about civil rights. They were turbulent times that most of our current-day coaches can only read about in history books. Neighborhood disagreements often festered on school grounds. However, over the course of his 30 years at Norristown High School, he built strong and lasting relationships with kids, families, and communities. It wasn't the kids, it was the time, it was the environment, it was history. It took a special man, Roger Grove, to deal with some special problems. By the way, by the mid-1970s, when Roger became the head coach at Norristown, I was on the opposite sideline. I was on the PW sideline. And I do know that there were coaches in the league that said, oh, Grove, he gets big kids, he gets fast kids, he gets those athletic kids. True, 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 sometimes. But Roger had situations that he had to deal with that a lot of those suburban coaches couldn't dream of. While some of those suburban coaches, myself included, were arguing and shook up because, well, you're not getting enough gym time on a rainy day or something like that. Roger's conducting his own search for one of his players that was missing, that neither foster parents nor police knew the whereabouts of. One of many stories of Roger, as I said, a special man for a special time. 1976, Roger becomes head coach of Norristown. In 1976, Norristown wins the suburban championship. That was just the beginning. That was just the beginning of a journey that could take Roger into 4 different halls of fame. But I'd like to conclude tonight by concluding the same way I did a few years ago when I had the honor of introducing Roger in his induction into the Hall of Fame, the Montgomery County Hall of Fame. And it goes like this. By the way, just let me tell you, before I made the speech, I said to Raj, Raj, tell me some things you'd like to hear, but most importantly, tell me something that I've got to convey to that audience before I sit down, before I get off that stage. And here it is. Here's Roger's words. Here's my closing. I'd like to conclude by using the same ending. Here we go. In closing, here's something that Roger wants you to know. Quote, nothing makes me prouder than having one of my former players introduce me to their family and saying, kids, this is my coach, Coach Grove. I'm so happy for them having their own families, and I'm so honored they still call me coach. That says it all for me. End of quote. You're right, Raj. That says it all. Thank you.
We have no problem getting our kids up for this game. These kids have lived together for years. They've grown up together. They've been next door neighbors. The whole preseason, they talk about this football game. So there's no problem getting kids up. You know, the problem usually occurs after the game, where you got to worry about if you win having a letdown, and if you lose, getting the kids back up for the next week. We do different things though throughout the week in the preseason to prepare for Kenrick, and I'm sure as they do for us. But there's no problem getting the kids up for this one. It's a great rivalry. Well, we're a young football team. You know, we've come off of 3 years where we've battled for championships, and you know, we're young. We started out, beginning of the year, we're stronger on our defensive side of the ball than our offensive side, but we feel this football team is going to get better every week, you know, the more we play. We've improved a lot since the first day of practice, and, you know, right now I think we are a contender in our league. I think our kids have matured. Our upperclassmen are playing extremely well. Our younger kids are coming on at our skill positions, so we think we can be hopefully a typical Norristown football team.
Is there a different approach to approaching a team, a young team as you put it, as to a team where, let's say in years past, 5 years ago, where you had Steve Bono at quarterback, or last years when you had Wayne Denson and Carmen Bella, two proven running backs? Is there difference? I guess I'm trying to say, is there a difference coaching this team where there's no one superstar per se that sticks out?
I think there's a difference. First of all, to answer your question, with this type of football team, where we want to start them out easy. We don't want to bring them along where they, you know, in the beginning where we put a lot of pressure on them. We want them to feel comfortable with our offense, feel comfortable with our defense, and improve. You know, the key is we got to get better every week. We now are going to go into our opening league game, which is ultimately what you're shooting for, and I think we are exactly where we want to be. The fact that we don't have a Steve Bono or a Wayne Denson, so at least we don't think we do so far. I think the team looks at it differently more so than the coaches. I think our kids realize now that they as a group have to work harder, they as a group have to do more, and our kids did that in the off-season. We had a great off-season program. Our kids worked hard. We had great weight gains. We had great strength gains. But we think we have some very good football players. You know, we have some kids that have performed extremely well. And I think, you know, we have a couple underclassmen, juniors, who have the potential to be a real great football player. But ultimately, you know, as a team, we came together and we're playing good football.
And I guess
I didn't think this was going to be hard. I was wrong. I had a couple stories I was going to relate like everybody else did. Some were funny, some were serious. And I just decided to bag it. There won't be too many stories. But I do have to say one thing that only two people have ever heard at this point. One was Roger Grove, one was my wife Vern. When I was first coming to Norristown, I was leaving Reading High at the time. And it was the last year that Eisenhower was the high school. They hadn't opened the new school yet. And I had been hired by Jack Servino to command the Norristown staff. And in the spring of that year, he said, you know, when you come down, there's a lot of things to go over. I'll show you the school, etc. You can meet some people. So during the course of the day, I got to meet quite a few people and talk to them. So I came home that night. First said, well, what'd you think? I said, nice school, it's going to be a beautiful thing in the fall. Good team coming back. That's going to be a nice experience. So what about the coaches? Oh, really nice, really nice. I said, the only drawback was there was only one guy that I met that I really didn't like or didn't care for. His name was Roger Grove. I said, he's running the offense for Servino. I said, nah. He said, well, yeah, hang in there. We're going to work with him. Fast forward, 43 years later, in a hospital room in the Phoenixville Hospital, everybody kind of busy and milling around. I'm sitting over on the side by Roger by myself. And while everybody's chatting, so he leans over and he said, do you realize how close we've become? How close we are, how much alike we are? I said, yeah, I do. A little while later, they were talking about the card show that the Peg instituted. I sent Roger his last Christmas card, his birthday card. And the verse on it was something like, you're more like a brother to me than a friend, et cetera, all the sappy stuff that you're supposed to say. But then I wrote a little note on the side there, and I said, you know, this is a lot more than a verse on a card. 43 years later, we have pretty much become like brothers. And some of the stories that I was going to bring out, et cetera, sort of pale in the meantime here. The thing that I want to remember most about Roger, if you look at the front of the podium here, you see Coach Grove, and you see two of the finest young men I know. They're little then, but they have become such fine young men. And a lot of times, when we go out, I won't have stories like that. I won't even tell you about some of the stories we did and got involved in. That's neither here nor there right now. But everybody thought we were always doing X's and O's and, what are we planning? How are we going to handle Upper Marion or Plymouth White Marsh's wing tee? What are we going to do about Abington's option offense, et cetera? That paled in the number of times that the discussion was family, right? And the kids involved. And one thing that has been brought up so much tonight, and it just sticks with me, the love that he had for Peg. The love that he had for the two boys, watching them go from Phantoms to Blue Hens to Eagles and whatever it might be. Michael coming back and coaching with us was special. And just how much of our time together wasn't always football and X and O's and stories, et cetera, for this family. And I think that's the thing that I want to bring up the most tonight, how much of a part of our lives that was. And one story that always gets brought up is kind of keep Bernie and Peg would meet every week to go to the game and all that. And one of the stories they always loved to tell and bring up were we're playing over at Upper Dublin. Quite a good game. Upper Dublin had one of their few good teams. They're not like they were now. But we're playing Upper Dublin. They had a pretty good team. And all of a sudden we can't find, and I shouldn't say we, because I'm sort of watching what's going on in the field for a while. All of a sudden they can't find Michael. They can't find Megan. We just have to look at the fence. There they are trying to scale the fence to get up over the chain link fence to get onto the turnpike at Fort Washington. And Bernie and Peg have to go to the rescue and get them down. And we sort of both thought somewhere along the line that they might actually get together and live their life better and happy than that. So what I wanted to say in closing is that not only his family, but the entire family here, the players that play for him know that they're more than just players. They're surrogate sons. And everything that he did was to try and get those kids to a good school, a good job, a better place in life. And I think everybody in this room tonight, especially the foreign players, know how much he cared about them, cared for them, and what he tried to do for them. And I think that's what we're all going to remember as we go forward from tonight on. I'm sure Coach is looking down up above. I'd say not only his family, but this entire gathering, and just appreciating how much that he meant to you and how much you mean to him by showing up tonight. And I just want to thank you all for that and let you remember him the way he wanted you to remember.
Wow, what a night so far. We're going to take anybody else who'd like to come up and open it up to anybody who wants to share a quick story again. Mark, thanks a lot for this opportunity to stand up here and open up the mic.
Give it to the right guy.
You did. We're going to take like a 10-minute intermission, get up, mingle around, and oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Hakeem Jones, class of 2001, and I just want to thank the Grove family, send my condolences for your loss. Coach Grove, to all of us, was somebody special. He had our backs. For all of us who grew up here in Norristown, very diverse community. We've been everywhere from War Memorial Field in Bucks County to Courtesy to the Woods, you name it. But Coach Grove always had our backs, treated us like we were his at home. Another thing, as I look around the room, I see nothing but success in this room. A lot of Coach Grove's former athletes, no matter what you read in the newspapers about Norristown, you look around this room, you look throughout wherever you go, there's principals in this room,
That's right.
politicians
That's
in this
right.
room, there's great fathers, professional athletes, you name it. Coach Grove spent a lot of time grooming many of us to be where we're at today. So, I just want to send my condolences. Being a coach now, I tell the kids that Norristown is in the top 25 schools in all of Pennsylvania, over 700 schools, as far as the winning percentage goes. So, a lot of that has to do with Coach Grove and the great folks that he had around him on his staff. We got stories every day that we joke about as a group of friends. A lot of guys are in the room. I think Norristown's like a fraternity, and I'm glad to have been a part of it, and I'm sure everybody else in the room is thankful for the Norristown football program and what Coach Grove done for us. Thank you.
So we're Michael Grove's college roommates. Interesting enough is football's driven most of our lives. I came from New Jersey, Long Beach Island, New Jersey. In fact, I remember sleeping on the way to Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. Believe it or not, the person that convinced me to go to that little town, and sorry for anybody that lives there, was Mike Schmidt. Coach Schmidt is the only reason I thought everybody at Lock Haven would be like him. So I remember falling asleep, and on the way there, I wake up and I see Jersey Shore. And I said, thank God, Mom, you made me turn around. We're going back to LBI. And the interesting part was, when we dropped off, I was dying and fighting to leave. My mom got the program and said, you're going to be okay. Came it back, brought it back to my dad, and my dad calls Fran Coleman, that happened to play at Westchester with Mr. Grove, and he goes, go up and find this Mike Grove. I guarantee that's Roger's son. And I did, and we've been best friends ever since. The interesting part is Coach Hale. Is one of the people that kept me in college. When trust me, everybody knows me, I'm not a student. Between Roger and Coach Hale and Coach Carroll and a lot of people that are high school coaches in Pennsylvania, gave me a lot of respect for who I am. So I felt the obligation to come up here and do that today. And for any of you kids that are parents that think your kids can't play college or high school football or little kid football, it is the best thing in the world. Because I've seen 3 generations of friends today that I'll never forget. And I came from Jupiter, Florida today to pay my respects.
Start getting emotional for that. For me, it's a little bit different. I didn't know Mr. Grove as well as some of you folks did here today. I met him a bunch of times, but I heard the words man's man, and that's kind of the way that I would describe, Mr. Grove, Roger. He was a man's man. I hear a lot of, touching stories, which is amazing because he was kind of a rough guy. But inside, he had a heart of gold. And so it's amazing, and it's amazing to see this room tonight, to see the turnout, to see the number of people sort of pouring out their hearts to say, this is a guy that deserves everything that everyone's saying tonight. So I just want to say one more thing. As a father, the manifestation of me is my daughters. And I think for Mr. Grove, it's his family. And it's Dave, it's Mike, it's everyone. And so for that, I would say, much remembrance, we love you.
I'll have to pull this down. I was just moved to come here and talk about Peggy. I've been with her for 30, 40, however many years that there were 3, okay. I came to Norristown with Jack in 1976, and I've been riding with Peg or meeting her at McDonald's or meeting her at Dairy Queen so that we could ride from one end of the state to the other end of the state to see football games. She is the wind beneath Roger's wings. I know that. I know that. I would go to her house on Thanksgiving. The men would go out to breakfast, and Peg would have the turkey in the oven at 6 o'clock in the morning, so that when Roger came home from the game, she would have dinner for him with homemade pies. I can't even do a Mrs. Smith's pie, and she had homemade pies. She is my hero. And then when she became ill with her MS, we would go to the games, and one time we were going into the stadium, and they wanted us to pay. I said, no thank you, no thank you. And we just drove right in through because I wanted to get her close enough that she could walk to the stadium. She was having problems walking, and she wouldn't use a cane, so I went to Berlin, Maryland, and bought her one with a little whiskey thing inside, a little handle, and called it her walking stick. So she used that, and we still went to all the games. She never missed a game, as many games as we could go to, no matter who we were playing, almost to New Jersey, on the Turnpike. We knew Abington, Upper Moreland, all those games, and she is just a saint. I was at her house when Roger was there, when he came home, and I just can't explain the strength that she has. And I know it all came from her faith in God. And it keeps her strong, and it keeps her family strong. So please keep her in your prayers, because she is a saint. Thank you.
My name is Jim Scott. I played for Page Grove in the mid to late 80s. And like everybody said before me, a man's man. Tough on you, strict. But I do consider him as a second father. I haven't seen him for decades. Haven't talked to him. Always think about him. The moments that I keep in my heart about Coach Grove is he wasn't only the football coach, but he was also the driver's ed teacher. So him and I would get in a little car, we'd drive to Pudgy's and get the coach's lunch order. Then we'd go back to the gym, watch film, and discuss the next upcoming game. But another short story, when I first met him in, I guess my sophomore year, he would come out and watch baseball games. And then my junior year, he's like, hey Jimmy, I noticed you wear big Coke bottle glasses playing baseball. I was like, yeah. He's like, you don't wear them playing football. He's like, how do you see who you're throwing it to? I just throw up the blue helmet. So then my mom and parents got in contact with me. Okay, we're going to miss you. And also to the Grove, to the kids, to their sons. He did talk about it. Even in those one-on-one meetings that we had, he'd bring up the family. And like everybody else said, stern, and he'd keep you on the straight and narrow. God bless you.
My name's Mark Milky, class of '94. I didn't want to get up here tonight because I know I'm going to cry. Don't judge me. But for everything this man gave to me, I wanted to come up and give a few words for him. I wanted to make one observation and share one story. The observation would be all these broad-shouldered young men back there. We've all been coached and taught by different coaches and different teachers, and some of those coaches and teachers just go through the motions and do what's asked of them. But every one of these young men, and maybe some old men now, have a special story about Coach Grove. It speaks to the man not going through the motions. It speaks to how much he really cared and how much he touched each and every one of us. I know every one of you has a special story about a one-on-one moment with Coach. And it just really speaks to how special he is. The second thing was I've shared tons of stories over the past couple of weeks on Facebook and just shooting the breeze with the guys, but there was a story I really kept it to myself. Coach helped me get into college. I wanted to continue my football career, and I got injured, so I had to quit some football. Came back, and I was kind of lost, right? 18-year-old, you don't know what's going on in life. And I come back to Coach at the high school, and I tell him, I'm lost, Coach. I don't know what to do. Football's been my life for so long, and believe it or not, with the helmets here and football T-shirts and every story from every person has had something to do with football tonight. Coach told me life wasn't all about football. And it speaks to what Griff said about how he was really a family man who was coaching football and not a football coach who had a family. And believe me when I tell you, we love you, Coach. Thank you.